Is that dramatic enough for you, Chris, to come in?
I love it. I love it.
Yes, indeed. And welcome back to the Player's Edge, everybody. Tonight, we were supposed to have Sarge on from TVG, but TVG got wind of that, and they said, no, sir, you can't go on that show. You're going to be right here on the TVG set. So, I mean, we got Chris Pomerleau. Can you do better than that? What's happening, Chris? How are you tonight?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Thank you for all the work that you do. And if you've been over to horseracingtoday.net, you know exactly the kind of good work Chris does because he has been the Kentucky Derby correspondent, right? As the horses run out the Kentucky Derby Trail, which comes to a close this Saturday for the most part, right? There's one more like cleanup race afterwards that only has like 2 points.
The Lexington and Keeneland.
Mm-hmm. So we have 3 of them. We have the Wood, we have the Toyota Bluegrass, and we have the Santa Anita Derby, which we'll be covering. But Chris has covered all these races all the way through. He's got his rankings out. We're going to find out if Messier is indeed the top Kentucky Derby horse come Saturday afternoon. If not Messier, maybe Animal Kingdom, Forbidden Kingdom, Animal Kingdom is another one on his list too. But I have a feeling that there might be an upsetter in that crew, a horse that's run once before only, and maybe in a second start might be that horse nobody's been talking about that bursts onto the scene right before the Kentucky Derby in the last second effort there. So make sure you head over to horseracingtoday.net. I'm sure Chris will have his picks out. Which races do you plan on covering this week? Are you going to cover all 3, or you just got 1 or 2 in there? What are you looking to do?
I'm not sure. Maybe I'll have Sean do a poll in the morning. I got the Santa Anita already done, and I'm going to be probably short on time, so it's between the Wood and the Bluegrass. So,
what do you think, Sean? I think the Bluegrass will probably have more attention, right? With Keeneland opening weekend, all that kind of stuff. Plus, what's the weather out like by you? Pretty horrible, or what?
It's wet, 50s. Gonna probably be that tomorrow too. Saturday though, I think it's gonna be all right.
Okay, I'm gonna vote right now on the show for the Wood. What about you? Not the Wood. I mean the Bluegrass. I'm sorry. Sean, you? What's your vote?
Bluegrass.
Tom, your vote?
Yeah, I agree with the Bluegrass. Bigger field. Not that anything will come out of it, but you never know.
Yeah, speaking of nothing coming out of it, even the Bluegrass doesn't really have that strong of a history since they've gone to this point system of sending the Kentucky Derby winner from the Bluegrass into the Derby. Usually the 2 races that have the most, I would say, predictive value have been the Florida Derby and the Santa Anita Derby. So let's just recap. You were down there, right? You were at Gulfstream Park on a press pass because horse racing today has that sort of panache where we can get press passes now. So you were down there. You were like real close to the action. What did you think of the Florida Derby?
I thought it was fantastic. It didn't play out the way I thought it was going to. Had simplification on top. But, I thought, looking back at the race now, I probably watched it 5 or 6 times, watching the different horses. I think I've made a mistake here with not taking Safi's horse, White Barrio. I give that horse a lot of credit. He can come off the pace. He can run. But the one that I'm really impressed with is Charge It. And I know there was a lot of buzz going into it, and that's all everybody was talking about at Gulfstream Park. Is this horse going to be for real? And I'll tell you that, when I go back and I watch the replay and what he's doing, he looked very, very green. I think it was his 3rd start, if I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I just think this year's Derby, looking at who the top contenders are, it's a lot of early speed. I am looking right now at somebody that can come from off the pace, and I really like what I saw with Charge It, and I think there's a lot of potential there.
Off the pace really hasn't been the way to win the Kentucky Derby of late. We just get to the front. And when we talked to Mike Smith, he said that first, what was it? If you guys remember was it the first furlong, Tom, where Mike Smith said that it was like a quarter horse race? Everybody's just like, let's go.
Yeah.
You don't want to be
when they hit that finish line and get to the turn, it's definitely a position, and it looks like a quarter horse race.
Get out straight, get out fast. Mike also said how you train at the Churchill Downs track heading into the Derby is a pretty big deal. Sean, was a pretty good week for us on Horse Center. We had on Rob Toole to start it off, the track announcer for Evangeline Downs, followed up by Maggie Rowland, who was just a knockout in terms of her attitude, which I absolutely loved. And then last night we had on Electra Boone, who has a pretty good following there. She brought up a question, and I talked a little bit about this today with Jared in Terry's absence because he's on vacation, enjoying himself, living the 5-star life. 2-year-olds, guys, what do you think about 2-year-olds? Do you think 2-year-olds should run, or do you think they should wait to 3-year-olds? Tom, you've been around the game as an owner. What do you say?
Oh, I don't. It depends on the maturity level of the horse. Some of them are ready to go, and some of them develop as 2-year-old, and then they're nothing as a 3-year-old. So I'm all in favor, but I don't see a problem with it. It depends on how you want to handle your horses and what you've got.
What do you think, Chris?
I wouldn't say no, but it seems like a lot of the talent that comes out, because I go to Saratoga and spend a lot of time up there, and you look at all those 2-year-old races, you don't see them till much later, and I think it's just too much risk with injury. Personally, I kind of wish they would just wait a little bit more until they're 3 years old, because I want to see horses not get injured.
So like college basketball, one and done, right? So you got to do at least 1 year on the sideline. Sean, what do you say?
Yeah, I agree. I would prefer waiting till 3. Just more longevity for the horse, it seems, if we're not pushing them early. So let them mature, and maybe they can race a few more races than burn them out quickly.
Yeah, I'm not. I like I said earlier today, I don't know enough about the muscular and skeletal development for horses to actually have an informed opinion on that. My guess is that they're as Charles, who was on the show earlier today, who was around horses, he says that they're, and Tom kind of alluded to this, a lot of them may not be developed bone-wise at that point. So I think it is probably a horse-by-horse basis, and that's where you have to have the professionals in there. I also understand the owner's point of view. I spent $1 million on this horse, man. I can't wait for it to be 3 years old, right?
And that's the problem. If it's horse by horse, the money talks, and they're going to force their hand and force them in there. That's the issue with that.
Yeah, well, money does talk, and BS walks. There's no question about that, Sean. That's whether we like it or not. That is the way of the world, my friend. Right? If you got money, you can go you do what you want. All right. So speaking of which, let's take a look at this money. Speaking of money, let's see if we can make some money. I don't know if we're going to make a whole lot of money in the Santa Anita Oaks. This is a grade 2 fillies. This is a Kentucky Oaks points race. You have a prohibitive favorite in number 5. Is it Adari Manor? Let's start with you, Sean, on Adari Manor. Do you think anybody's going to beat this horse who's won its last 2 races by a combined 25 lengths?
No, this is one you're trying to figure out who's going to get second, because Adari Manor is going to win this race. It dominates in stretching out to a mile. Today we'll add another 1/16th, or Saturday. These 2 wins were by 12 and 13 lengths. Should get the lead, and we'll have options with the nice outside post in a short 5-horse field. Has beaten a couple of these horses already, so I don't see any real new challengers here. Number 2, Ain't Easy, is where I'm going to go. The Stone Cold Exacta here. Was unbeaten 2 for 2 before last start. We came after a 5-month layoff. Should be better this time, as the workouts have been really good in between races. And we'll be 4ly placed as well, which will help in the small field. I went 3rd, number 3, Under the Stars. Has raced really well and is always there at the end, even in tough races like this. Since I like the heavy favorite, I see no potential here playing with the 3, so I went against the 3 for a second.
You went against the 3 for second. How about you, Tom? Anybody beating that 3 to 5? And what do you think it's 3 to 5 in the morning line, but I don't think it goes off at 3 to 5. What do you think? 1 to 9? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, if you get 1 to 5, I think you're doing good. Yeah, I mean, I have the same horses that Sean has. I put 5 as my top choice. I always going to look at the breeding, and the sire, of course, is many races, horses that go distance, no problem. The Dam was a stakes winner at distance, and this is her first full, so good way to start out. Number 2, Ain't Easy. Again, on the sire side, he's one of Into Mischief, one of the top in the country. On the Dam side, though, this was an Australian horse. She was a Group 3 placed horse, and handy, and at the little lower class levels. So there may be some turf in her, more than there is dirt. So it'd be an interesting one for the future. And Under the Stars has got the same thing. I mean, she's won a 7 furlong race, but and of course the sire produced a Triple Crown winner, so he went distance without question. And the Dam is really interesting because this is a stakes winner. She's produced 8 runners. She has 7 winners and 2 are stakes. winners. And the other stakes winner is Bodemeister. So she comes from a really good line. But of course, that her on the dam side, we got a little Stormcat in there. So that's definitely says turf. So she may, the two of them, the second two may be better turf horses than her.
Interesting perspective. I know, Chris, you're big on pace and setups and all that sort of stuff. So when you look at this race from a pace perspective, how do you see it playing out?
I see it kind of being a brisk pace, but the thing about it is Adari Manor is the lone speed here. There's little doubt here. And I picked up an interesting stat when I was looking at this race. And you don't see this very often, but there's been 14 races at Santa Anita at this distance. And half of them have gone wire to wire. So usually you see a stat 25%, 30% is kind of high. This is 50%. So you get to the front here, I think you're going to fly, and I think you're going to see that with Adari Manor. And I think the other piece of it too is, listen, this horse has got the highest pace figure, has already run at par, is the lone E speed, and Johnny V is running. And I did notice when I was going through a lot of these races, it's the Tim Yaktine, I think is his name.
The one that's taken over for Baffert. Yep.
So there's a ton of these Tim Yaktine, aka Bob Baffert horses, and this is one of them. And she's already won off one of these similar layoffs back in January. So that's my top pick. I think I don't want to use the word lock, but I think I'm pretty confident on this one at the end of the day. Second choice for me is Under the Stars. Again, this is the other one. So we get another Baffert transfer. Been very competitive every single race. Just lost the last race, which was a grade 3 by half a length. And the horse has been favored 4 over 5 races. Mike Smith's on the mound. I think Flavian Pratt, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he's at Keeneland. So
he transferred his tack. He's not going to be out in California anymore.
Yep.
He's going to move up to Saratoga, Belmont, then Saratoga.
He's good. So, the problem you have at Santa Anita, as you guys are well aware, is the fields are very small. And it's very, very difficult to get any value whatsoever. But you got to figure out how to make it work. So I would figure out we're using a Adari Manor either with one of the higher prices, 2 Ain't Easy or Desert Down underneath, thinking that maybe the pace collapse a little bit. Or the other thing I think you could do here is take Adari Manor and maybe figure out a way to work it into a double to increase the odds a little bit. But that's what I would do there on the value front.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't see anybody beating Adari Manor either. The horse ran triple-digit speed figures twice. I don't think any other horse in this field has gotten close to that number once. So you got a lot of ground to cover if you're going to beat that horse. It's going to get to the lead. You're right, Chris. The only E horse in the field. I mean, I think maybe because there is a lot of pace up in here. Potentially. Under the Stars and Ain't Easy might try to chase along. And if that happens, it could open up the door. I don't think so much for the One Desert Dawn, but I think it could open up the door for maybe Micro Share to come in and kind of steal if Under the Stars and Ain't Easy kind of go a little bit faster than they ought to early on. For Richard Mandela, who is on the show, my favorite trainer, favorite way to pronounce a trainer's last name. But I have it just like Sean has it. And I have, and as Tom has it, Adari Manor, Ain't Easy, and Under the Stars to kick off the Santa Anita Oaks. The next race we're going to do is race number 5. That is Lord, hope I pronounced this right, Providencia Stakes, presented by Thorough Care Aftercare Alliance. This one is a 1.1 miles on the turf. Chris, we'll start with you again since you like to do you do all the pace setups and all that kind of stuff. How do you see this race playing out once the gates open?
This out of the races that we looked at tonight is probably the best opportunity to get some value, I think. I went back and I watched some of the replays and stuff with what's going on. So, I think this one goes to probably more towards the E speed. But I went with the 3 Cairo Memories on top. And here's what I'm thinking. I'd rather take a shot. I didn't have the morning lines in front of me when I handicapped, and I see it 7-2.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would want a little bit more value than that. I thought for sure that horse maybe 5 to 6 to 1.
Coming off that 24 length disappointment last out.
He did, but when you look at it and you watch it, Mike Smith he rode the horse and he's on him again. And when I look at it, the horse left the gate a little slow. He went to the back of the pack. And then when you get to the back of the stretch, one of the things I really enjoy about trip notes or watching some of these replays, I'm watching him in the back of the stretch. He did make a slight move, almost like, to me, I just wonder if it's more of a glorified workout here a little bit. And I got looking at it, and, when you look at the PPs and you see this horse, it started out on the turf. And that's where she's had the most success. The trainer's 22% off the layoff, everything going on. I think the last couple of races were on the dirt. I just think if this horse can get a better start and be a little more forwardly placed and going back on the turf, I think this one here is a good shot to take, especially if I can get some odds against a couple of the others. And I will tell you, I had the second one with Sterling Crest was my second pick. I like the works. I like the bullets building up the stamina. Third start off a layoff. I mean, like Tom was talking about, I think you got a lot of pedigree here with the dam out of Europe, and the horse likes the grass. We know that's not going to be a problem. I think the big stat that stuck out to me on Sterling Crest was the dam has 5 starters and 4 of them have won on turf. So the comments in the PPs, and this is another thing about watching the race replays, the comments note that the horse ran rank early. If you go back and actually watch the replay, the horse actually was rank a couple times. There was a couple times where you saw him pull it up and it didn't go. And the other piece about it too is if you're looking for a trip, this horse here coming around, running rank, it went 4 wide around the final stretch. I mean, in the final turn going into the stretch. And I can find some excuses here. So really, I like the 3 and the 2 up top, even though the 2 got beat by Lucky Girl last time. I still feel there may be some room for improvement here on Sterling Crest. So again, I'm going to go 3 Cairo Memories, 2 Sterling Crest. I'm going to put Lucky Girl in the 3rd spot. And just one more note I just made is there's the 16 Arches, the 6. I believe this one's coming from Ireland. I think it was Dundalk.
Mm-hmm.
And this horse here, first off, people complain a lot about the saddle cloths all being the same color and everything. If you ever try to watch a replay from Europe, forget about it. It's mission impossible.
Well, you have to rely very much on the announcer.
This not only was this a replay from Europe, but it was actually at nighttime, so it was dark. So you had no idea who was where, and you had to wait to the stretch call and then kind of back. But here's what I saw with 16 Arches. I'm not that impressed. The horse won, but the horse was running inside. It got gifted the rail coming around the turn, and it really picked up its feet. Yes, it did win in a big field, but I really hesitate on taking these Euro horses coming over to the U.S. first time out. So I thought I wanted to add that note as well. So again, 3-2-4 is how I'm rolling.
3-2-4. Now, Tom, he's not afraid of those first-time horses coming over from Europe, is he, Tom? Are you going to be afraid here, or are you going to put him on top?
Well, I agree with Craig. I mean, I took 3 Cairo Memories, my top choice. I tossed the last race. I don't think they know what they have yet. They got dirt. I think they have a turf horse based on the breeding, but they ran it against Ada and the Starlet, and she did okay. She tried the Breeders' Cup turf, and it was not a good effort, to say the least, but she also had a lot of problems. There was bumping. She got shuffled. It's pretty typical in that race anyways.
Man, still only finished 2 3/4 off the winner, though.
No, I mean, she did well overall, but she did have some problems.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, her first 2 races, they put the blinkers on for the maiden win, and then they took them off for her second start, and those were both at a mile. And she did well. I mean, I just think Mike Smith's got to get her out of the gate as much as anything and get her in position. The sire is a turf sire without question. On the dam side, we got 4 offspring. They all won. 2 of them are on the turf, and 2 of them are stakes winners. So if you're looking at a distance of 1 1/8 being an issue, it shouldn't be with this one. Took 4 Lucky Girls, my next choice. 1 mile stakes winner and to break her maiden, and then she came back, won the China Doll. If a horse can have issues in a race, she's done it in every single race. She's had issues. She's been blocked off solo. She's been in tight. Pick an issue, in a runaway. If she gets a clean race, she could be really good. She's sire's Irish bred. She's Irish bred, but the sire is actually from Australia. He was a Group 1 winner down there. And he's, of course, produced 16 Group 1 winners in Australia. So the dam side, she was a handicap type horse, and she ran in England and run on the turf and on the all weather. So she did okay on those. I did take 16 Arches as my final choice. For you looked at the race one way, and I looked at it a little differently because number one, the starting post was 13. On the Dundalk course, that is a tough place to win, to say the least. It ran mid pack. It was pushed at the 3 furlong mark. It had absolutely no room. They switched it to the left, and then it went out to challenge for the lead and finished strongly. Yeah, there are plenty of unknowns with this horse. The works are okay. She's certain. If you look at the breeding side, the sire's produced a lot of Group winners. The dam never raced, and she has one other foal that did race that didn't win, but he was racing in races over a mile. So I don't think the stamina issue, distance will be an issue for her. It's just a matter of where she is right now in her development.
Mm-hmm. Sean, who do you think is going to be the one that's developed the most and ends up taking this one?
I went number 4, Lucky Girl. She's gotten better each time out and has beaten most of these horses already. One of only 2 horses who has more than one lifetime win in this field, and the only one who had both victories at Santa Anita. It might be a slow pace here. I had a hard time figuring out who would get the lead, but she's overcome the slow pace before, including the last race, the China Doll. She might have to do that again. I went number 2, Sterling Crest, for second. With the lack of pace in this race, she could be the potential pace setter. If she's not, she's probably sitting second behind the rail horse. Her buyer number has gotten better each race, has finished behind some of these horses in the past is one hesitation, but I think the pace scenario helps her here. I went number 6, 16 Arches for third. Won her only race in Ireland, like we've been saying. She's going to be overbet. It's just a matter of, is it smart money or dumb money? Had to throw her in there for third. And I would say what Chris said with the 3, the morning line might not be 5-1 or 6-1, but I would say the 3 probably does go off at that price.
You think the 3 is going to go off at 5-1?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know, because I think right on this show we have Chris and I agree with the 3 horse on top. And if that's the case, I suspect that other handicappers and horse players are going to put the 3 on top. If we had not talked about Cairo Memories collectively as a horse that's a contender in here, I think then maybe the numbers would go up. Not that we're going to affect the odds.
I was going to say, how much money?
But wait. We have affected the odds once, I think, with Cece's horse, right? Over at Turf Paradise. So I don't know that we won't affect the odds, but not in a pool of this size. No question, we won't have any dent into that pool. But I think just the way handicappers see things, they're going to look back, like Chris mentioned, to the first 3 races. They were all on the turf. The first 2 races were very easy wins. One at Santa Anita, a $200,000 non-graded stakes race. So that they're going to look at that race and say a 2.25 length win. Then the horse runs into Breeders' Cup and it runs into all sorts of problems and still only finishes 2 3/4 off the winner at a mile. And now tried dirt. First time out, did okay. Next time out, maybe I don't like the dirt. It's going to return back to that turf. And I think every bettor on their planet's going to be looking at that angle. So I would be surprised if it goes off at 3-2. I think you're going to get 5-2, if not be the morning line favorite, especially now that you got Flavian out of there. Mike Smith is taking over again as the top jockey. So he's going to pull in some money, although he and Robert Hess have not hit a winner yet and only finished in the money 3 out of 8. So we'll see what happens with that. I also like the Sterling Crest as my second choice in here. It's looking at the horse a third time off a layoff. I didn't like the fact that the fractions kind of slowed down a little bit in its last race relative to the one right before that, the one where it came off the bench after sitting on the sidelines from December 27th to February the 12th. But a lot of times with these young horses, they come off the bench fresh, ready to run, and they have a little bit of a duller effort in that second time. They refresh, and I think that's what we're going to see out of this horse since that March 6th run. it's hit the track a couple of times for workouts and has 2 bullets in a row. So I think that the Sterling Crest will hit that refresh button. And if Cairo Memories isn't the favorite, then Sterling Crest will be the favorite, right? You guys agree with that or no? Maybe? Nah, Tom says no. And then I'm going to go with maybe Lucky Girl will be the favorite. I'm going to go with 16 Arches. I'm a big fan of that all-weather to turf angle because I've seen many, many times horses that run really well on the turf or horses that run really well on the synthetic track are able to take that. You also see that the horse came out in a stakes race for its debut. The class rating on that race was 114, which is on par with anything else, any other horse in this field is run against. And it did run against a 14-horse field. So, I mean, you got all sorts of problems that can present themselves in a 14-horse field. And then finally, I do have Lucky Girl as my 4th pick. I'm just afraid this is going to be the 5th start off the layoff for Lucky Girl. And just looking at that last race, there was regression everywhere except in the late pace numbers, but the fractions were a little bit on the slower side. The pace numbers were a little bit on the slower side. I'm just wondering if maybe Lucky Girl peaked 2 races back and that we'll see a little bit more regression in this race. Maybe not, but that's the way I see it.
That's where we differ because the slow pace is just because there was slow pace in the race. That's why the numbers regressed a little.
Well, I mean, you don't have to run that slow pace if you don't want to, right?
Hey, if you don't have to go fast, you don't need to go fast, you know?
All right, so I think this next race, Tom, what do you think? The Santa Anita Derby, I think it's going to go a long way to determining who the favorite is. Right now, Epicenter is everybody's favorite, coming off of 2 Fairgrounds wins, one of which he went on the front, one of which he came from off the pace, surprising everybody. Now you got Messier, you have Forbidden Kingdom, and I think you got an upstart perhaps in here. This might be the horse that becomes the it horse if it wins the Santa Anita Derby, and that's Taiba. What do you think about that? Or Taiba, or however they pronounce that?
I'm going to go with Taiba. That's the horse I did take as my top choice. Easy winner, first maiden race. Its speed number equals the 2 top horses in this race, and it's only been out once. Mm-hmm. Very straightforward race, maiden race. It looked good. And looking at, of course, the sire is gun runner, so he's produced for a first crop. He's done very well, and they've been runners and they've been good runners. The dam is interesting. She was a 14-time winner. She was Ohio bred horse of the year twice. She went up distances a mile and an eighth. She was purchased, for $1 million, and this foal went for 1.7.
So that's the price tag right there, baby.
So there's some money there.
Yeah, that's a Terry. That's a Terry budget right there.
And I think the works are good enough to put this horse right there with the top 2 that are listed here. I threw Messier out, but I went with Forbidden Kingdom as my next choice. My biggest concern with Forbidden Kingdom is if you go and look at the running line in the turf, it was not great. But the sire produces more turf winners than he does dirt, so that's a little bit of a concern. On the dam side, she was a great stakes winner, but in sprints. So I do have some question about distance for him and whether he can go longer. I took number 1, Happy Jack, as my final choice. Wins a maid, then runs an awful race against the best way to describe it. He drifted. So what are they doing? They're adding blinkers back onto the horse, which I think makes sense. I'm not looking for him to win. I'm looking for him to get in the money, and I think he can do that. I think he may be good enough for second. It's just a matter of where he does. I mean, the sires produce winners, and he won the Preakness, so their distance shouldn't be an issue. The dam was an interesting horse because she mainly ran claim ring and allowance races, and she ran a few distance races, but mainly sprints. So there are some questions on the dam side of whether he will want to go this distance.
And then threw in Messier out, your top horse right now, Chris. Oh, you have to feel stung.
Well, the first thing is, this is my horse racing today shirt, by the way.
Beautiful. I never seen you look so good.
It makes my blue eyes sparkle. So
Yes, indeed, baby. They pop right off the screen.
That's the good news. I don't
you
think I heard,
and Sinatra, man.
I don't think I heard that right. I think Tom said he's going to toss Messier.
Toss it right out, baby. Under the bus, baby. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round over Messier. Right. Well, Sean, you sing that song to Blake before you go to bed, don't you?
Yeah, he's right here. He got his attention right away as you started singing that. He is upset though, Chris, because you took Terry's spot.
Oh yes, you're arch enemy number one, man. You're like the Joker to Batman for Blake.
Just for the record, I'm Terry's second biggest fan after Blake.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you. So much for him being on the show. All right. Anyway, go ahead.
No. So I got a little story about the Santa Anita Derby here, and something that I've really worked hard on the past couple of years is try to figure out trainer intent and what you're doing and what may be happening here. There's some interesting angles here when you look at this race. Now, I'll give you the stats. Favorites, like always, a lot of these prep races, they win 47% of them. E-horses, it's good to be up front. But when I think about the trainer intent here, here's what I'm thinking about. First off, Yakteen, the new trainer, he's got 3 Baffert horses. I think he's got 3 Baffert horses in this race.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 3 horses coming over from Baffert going into the race. Forbidden Kingdom, he should already have enough Derby points to get in the Derby. So I don't think they really need to worry about him or go all out, I think, and maybe save him a little bit for the Derby. And then the thing about the Baffert horses, they have to finish 1-2 to get in the Derby. Otherwise, they won't have enough points probably to make it in the Derby. So third place isn't going to cut it here. These horses need to go first or second. And I think the intention here is to get either one of the top 2, either to get Messier or Teba to finish 1-2 so they can get him over to get him to Churchill for the Kentucky Derby. But I think it's really interesting that you got a field of 6 horses. 3 of them, the trainer's Yakteen, 2 are Doug O'Neill's, and Forbidden Kingdom's the lone, Richard Mandela. So
Mandela.
Unless something crazy happens, I really don't see either one of the O'Neills finishing first or second. The 2 I don't know how to say it. Armagnac? Armagnac?
Yeah, I'm the official pronunciator, so Armagnac.
I think it's Armagnac. I'm not really sure, but this horse doesn't even look like it should be in this race. It looks completely overmatched on paper, but the key here is it's an early speed horse. And the angle I'm taking here is I think this horse is in the race to do one thing. I believe this horse is in the race to run rabbit, get up front with Forbidden Kingdom, driving down. So you have the other 2, I'm going to say Baffert horses, can get 1-2. I think that's the whole intention of why this 2 is in this race for
Yakteen.
For Yakteen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the interesting thing. So I'm not tossing Messier, just for the record. Messier's my top pick. I love Messier. I love everything about him. I think he's the real deal. Would it surprise me if he finishes second here? Maybe. But I just really love this horse in the beginning. I think the only time he's ever lost is at Los Alamitos, which a lot of horses do not like running there. And I think that's the big deal here when I think of Messier. So you're either going to love that track or hate the track. And I just don't think Messier likes that track. But you look and see what he's done at Santa Anita and Del Mar. I just believe this horse has great tactical speed, and he's already had the highest pace rating of the whole group. So I absolutely love Messier. I think he's the real deal. I think he's going to win this race, and I think he's going to be the favorite for the Kentucky Derby. Now, with that being said, my second choice is the 6, Teba, because I think this is going to play out exactly like Yakteen has it planned out, is that this horse is going to make a big jump, but to have a first race and run a triple figure speed rating, I think that's pretty darn good. But I look at, is it Zedan Stables? I think that's the one that had Farrell, right?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Zedan, yeah.
So I think this is the whole angle here is I think Baffert is trying to get both of these horses to the Derby, and I think they got a pretty good chance. And my conspiracy theory is that this 2 is in the race to run Rabbit to drive down Forbidden Kingdom. And I'll round things out with Forbidden Kingdom coming third because I think he's a great horse too. And he may very well go wire to wire and wipe everybody off the map and win by 20 lengths. But I don't think so. I think there's something else going on here with a conspiracy. And, I would probably look, there's no value here, by the way, unless you like Taba. Messier, Forbidden Kingdom, you got no value whatsoever. I think you're going to have to take, one of the stalkers, Happy Jack or Win the Day, to figure something out and maybe put them second or third. But when I watched all the trip notes, and by the way, I will have this all for the write-up here when we put it up on Saturday morning, the only one I really had, there was nothing really in the trip notes in this whole field. Win the Day was probably the only one that, he went 4 wide heading into the stretch. He did pass a lot of tired, gassed horses, but I would just look at maybe taking one of those stalkers, and that's your value, is trying to figure out either Happy Jack or Win the Day, and maybe something happens and the pace collapse, and then those 2 horses get into the mix second, third, and fourth, maybe if you're playing a superfecta. But that's kind of how I would attack that race.
So you get to be the tiebreaker, Sean. Are you going to toss Messier or?
No, Messier's on top, and I was with Chris the whole time. Actually, I think that's why the 6 Tabia is in this race. I don't think.
No, Tabia is in this race to win, Sean.
Yeah.
You don't spend $1.7 million on a horse to send him out there as a rabbit.
I don't think this horse competes, and I think this horse is a little going to be overbet. So I mean, and as far as the value point, if we really do get 1-1, and you really like Messier or Forbidden Kingdom, it's a 2-horse race. So I'm going to take Terry's angle here. If you get 1-1, you get even money, and it's a 2-horse race, and you really love one of them, you can make some money if you want to put a lot of money into it. I'm going Messier. I think Tabia pressures Forbidden Kingdom a little bit here, and Messier is going to run him down late. Messier will be close enough to the pace to take advantage of that. So I went Messier, and then I went Forbidden Kingdom for second. Looks to be the speed of the speed. I think there's enough in here to keep him honest. Distance won't be the issue. At pace will be. And then I'll throw Tabby in for third just because there's nothing else in here. But you're not going to have value unless you like one of those 2 and you want to put a lot of money on them to win.
I don't know. I disagree. I don't think they're putting Tabby in here as a rabbit for everybody to go chase. They want to win this race.
First off, why isn't this a bigger deal that 3 of the 6 horses are the same trainer, but we made a big deal about a married couple running, then we never saw anything suspicious at all, but we got this happening every day.
Well, that's a whole different issue. We're talking about who's going to win this race, not how the race. And I agree with Chris. I mean, I'm sure there are tactics involved in all of this stuff. So Tabby is in here to win. I can say quite confidently, you don't see many horses that come out of their debut and pop a triple digit on the speed gun. That is a rarity. So that tells me just straight off the top that this horse is absolutely 100% buyer ready to go. No question about that. That $1.7 million price tag, it is the most expensive horse in the field, as Tom pointed out. That also tells me that they're in this race to win it because they got to make back some of that $1.7 million bucks, boy. And the most likely way of doing that is winning a couple grade 1s and then getting the horse out the pasture to make babies. They ain't going to do that if you're out here just to press the pace so some other horse can come in and beat you. I don't think that's the trainer's intent. I don't think that's Zenden Racing's intent. They want to get to the Kentucky Derby off of one race and then have a shot to win it. And I think this horse is going to have a shot to win this race. I think that you're going to see the 3 main horses. I do agree that 2-horse might go out there as a pony for everybody to chase down in press Forbidden Kingdom. But I don't think the other 2 are going to be all that far off the pace either. And it's just going to come down to when they come out of the turn there, which one of those 3 horses has the most legs late. I think that's really going to be what determines the outcome of this spot. And, quite frankly, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever at all if Tabia, because Tabia has put up in that debut number the best late pace numbers of those 3. If he's close, he's fresh, no dings, should be ready to go. So I'm going to go Messier on top. I'm going to put Tabia second, and I think they're all – I can see a 3-way photo at the wire between those 3, and bettors be like, ooh, who got it? And then Forbidden Kingdom third, and all 3 of them will be in the Kentucky Derby for a rematch.
I will say the 2 didn't keep up with the 3 last race, so I don't think he can keep up out of the gate. And then Messier also dominated for Binda.
Well, that doesn't mean that you're not going to keep up from the gate, Sean. They might just send them for the first half and just burn them up.
I don't know what that saying is. A horse can run fast, but for how long or something to that effect. So any horse in the world can run rabbit. And I think this is exactly what's going to happen here. I think this is going to be true drama theater right here. Go back and watch the Sean. Go back and watch the Justify replay in the Belmont Stakes. I think you're going to see more of the same.
So Thomas, you and I tomorrow will be heading off to Australia, right?
Well, yeah, we're going to do 4 Group 1s in Australia. Some excellent fields in those races, and they're a couple of them are big fields, so it taxed me a little bit in trying to figure it out. And then we're also going to cover the Grand National of Aintree. There's 40 starters, and they go a little over 4 miles and jump 30 fences.
We're going to cover that one too.
Oh yeah.
40 horses jumping fences over 4 miles. Can I just do a random
perfect kind of race for you?
Can I just do a random number generator on that one and get away with it, you think?
Well, you can take 24 because in this country you can't bet beyond that. So you get 24 for 40. And there is one horse in there that's got a good chance of winning.
So maybe I'll do that. That'll make it a lot easier.
There's always value in these races, so it's fun to play them. And in the past, I've gotten my money back, so I'm happy with that. And watching the races can be rather interesting, to say the least.
40 horses, it's tough enough with as Chris mentioned earlier, the saddle cloths all being the same color to begin with. Now you got 40 of them running 4 miles, jumping over posts.
Yeah, I generally watch the jockey's cap. Yeah. Unless they spread out in the European races, then it becomes a little more. If they're in 2 groups, it can be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, what I typically do is just come back and see the results later on because I'm not completely confused for sure. Sean, how's it stacking up for next week, my friend?
So next week we got trainer Jorge Delgado on Monday. Marshall Mendez, apprentice jockey at Charlestown, has been lighting it up at Charlestown, and then Turf Paradise's announcer Craig Praddock, where we might get that last race. We might get in the booth as we come on the air.
Trying to get in the booth to get a live call on Horse Center.
Couple new ones to announce too. Wednesday, April 20th, we have Rosemary Harmoster Jr. And then today also I booked for the following Wednesday, the 27th, Donna Brothers. So we got a lot of big names coming up.
Sean always stacking the cards there, baby, on Horse Center. Monday's his favorite day. Wednesday, he's sad. So we'll be back before you know it on Monday. Tom and I will be back tomorrow. If you like what you saw tonight, please do like Hillary, Robert Bryan, and Christian Gendron did. Give us a thumbs up on Facebook or like us on Facebook. That's how that works. Follow us or subscribe on YouTube at Horse Racing Radar TV. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell button so that when we go live, you'll be notified. Anything that I missed, guys? Oh, one other thing that you can do, too, is you can head on over to horseracingtoday.net. Do me a favor, if you'd be so kind again, Chris. Would you stand up and proudly display those baby blues? There you go. You can catch that over. You can look as good as Chris, man. Chris is looking sharp tonight. He's clean. The hair is right. Got a handful of gel in there, looking right. You can do like Chris and head on over to horseracingtoday.net, hit that HRT gear, and then pick up something that you're going to look fantastic in at the track. Chris, you like the way it looks, right?
I think it's not only does it look good, it feels good. It's fantastic. So I love my I have a few HRT shirts, so I love them all.
Thank you for the kind words there. And then what else was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say, Sean. Any final thoughts before we get out of here? I know what I was going to say before I forget, because the old man in me will forget. Make sure you do come back to horseracingtoday.net Saturday morning. Chris is right up for it. We voted on it. It's unanimous for the Bluegrass Stakes. We'll be over on and the Santa Anita Derby. That'll be over on horseracingtoday.net. Those are awesome in-depth articles. Even if you disagree with them, like Tom, and you're just going to throw his top pick out, throw him under the wheels on the bus, go round and round, still well worth the read.
Absolutely.
All right, now, Sean, sorry to interrupt you, like I always do.
As always, we're working on a few other things, so always pay attention, and some surprises coming and stuff. And also pay attention to the Twitter question and have friendly debates, and don't call people names.
Yes, yeah, you can call them names. Just call them good names, right? It depends.
You can
depends on
call
the kinds of
yourself
name.
names if you'd like.
Yeah, sure.
You can call me whatever name you want. I'm never offended by anything anybody says.
Well,
I'm in that old school. Any news is good news.
There you go. Go follow Rich at HRT Rich too.
Yes,
Build those Twitter followers up.
You can call me all kinds of crazy names over there. We'll see what I come back with. I'll try to come back with some crafty comebacks. We'll see if I can have a sharp tongue as well. All right, that wraps up the Player's Edge. Thanks for joining us this evening. Next week we'll be back to cover Keeneland, right, Sean?
Yes.
Any sense of who the guest might be then?
I'll be working on back
Chris.
I will be working on that.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we are working on some stuff with Chris. He and maybe Eddie C might put something together. We're working on that in the background. So if you want to see Chris and Eddie C put together a fantastic show once a week, maybe I don't know what they can highlight, but they can figure that out. Just hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, on the YouTube channel, and tell us what you want. And we'll have Chris out there doing it, man. He's definitely got his stuff together. All right, guys, Thomas, I will see you tomorrow at 1:00. Again, make sure you join us for a 4-mile race over posts with 40 horses. This is going to be the joy of my life, getting ready for that one.
Rich is going to have no sleep studying those 40 horses.
I might just do the random number generator. All right, gentlemen, everybody have a fantastic night. Chris, you get to say it tonight. Thanks for joining us, and we hope your day, your night, your week, and everything that you do ends up in Chris
The winner's
Pomerleau's
circle.
Winner's circle. Absolutely. Have a great night, folks.